All right. Just quickly, because I don't recognize some people here and I always forget to do this. Okay. WallStreetJesus.com. If you're new, it's all sounding foreign to you throughout this webinar. Your best bet, you go to WallStreetJesus.com and you click on the strategy section. Okay. And gives you the basics here of what the hell we do on a day-to-day basis. And if you have an interest and you want to check out a free trial, we do a 3-day free trial, no credit card. All right, so 3 days, you get a little feel of what we do, and then you decide if you want to sign up. There's 50% off the first month, and blah, blah, blah. All right, we also have the private Twitter, and I get this question all the time, so I have to mention it. Private Twitter is included in trading room package. Okay, so you get that automatically. But if you're just interested in solely private Twitter and not the trading room, you go to products and you go to private Twitter feed, and that's where you would access the page to sign up there. All right, but I suggest obviously you 3-day trial before you make any decisions. No credit card, you don't have to put anything in, no obligation, and you get a feel of what we're all about. All right, let me X out that. All right, let's talk shop. All right, I got to keep remembering the tendency of forgetting that I'm talking to the, a lot of here, not just members. All right, because I forget, and sometimes I talk about stuff that we don't discuss on a day-to-day basis. So let me figure out where to start. All right, basically, we get together every weekend, Sunday, once during the week, one Sunday, we talk each and every day on a day-to-day basis. But at the end of the week, we try to come up with a game plan. So at least we are organized and have some idea of what we want to do, okay? And not make those rash decisions on the, okay? And the longer you play this game, you're going to realize that you need to have some sort of plan of what you're going to do. Otherwise, things can unravel rather quickly. Now, I get it, and I'm a big fan of that Tyson line. You have a plan until somebody punches you in the face. I totally get it. But a plan, in my opinion, a plan is about that, right? A plan is to figure out a way not to get punched in the face, or if you do get punched in the face, what you're going to do about it. That's the plan. All right. So it's an outline of how we want to approach, what kind of style we're looking, to play this game for that particular week. All right. So our game plan, our playbook coming into this week, simple. Not everybody follows it, but basically the signals. All right, if you're a member of the Steam Room, you're here for flow, sentiment, the signals we look at on a day-to-day basis, based off what we were seeing, okay, and that's where I come up with the playbook. The risk reward just wasn't there to stick out our neck this week, right? We even said that last week. With earnings, right, we're going into the heart of earnings season here, just a ton of headline risk. And on top of this market coming a long, long way, all right, and just simply put, all our key signals that have been bullish throughout this whole rally and has kept us bullish and in the game, right, throughout the majority of this rally, we started to lose them one by one. So in other words, sentiment initially, everybody and their mother was bearish. Nobody wanted to own equities. Little by little, right? It went from bearish sentiment to now extremely bullish sentiment. That takes care of that, okay? The sweeper activity, the flow, all right? The buying in the options market was incredible throughout the whole entire rally. As we got closer to earnings season, all of a sudden, became sloppy and messy and just wasn't making sense. All right. And I think, not to jump around here, but I think a lot of you guys out there seem to forget, okay, we're zoning in on, we're looking and focusing on sweeper activity, right? That's what our bread and butter is. But you gotta understand, it's not just following. It's not like we're following some syndicate out there and, you know, get an idea of what they're buying and selling and making plays off that, right? It's obviously different players out there placing bets, okay? So it's not all the time that things are going to line up on one side or the other, right? A lot of times it doesn't. And the majority of times during earnings season, it doesn't. Meaning that you'll see bullish activity in XYZ. You could see, you know, bearish activity whistle in right after that, right? Because there's a variety of players protecting, putting on long exposure, replacing equity, a whole bunch of, all right? So I have a cardinal rule, all right, that's really been extremely helpful when it comes to trying to interpret the flow and getting key signals out of it, all right? And that's when, if there's not a key takeaway from what I'm seeing, in other words, if I can't feel 99.9% confident that there is a sharp player placing a bet on XYZ or betting against XYZ, I don't want to be a part of it. Okay? Make sense? Right? So in other words, if I'm going to buy, let's say if I'm looking to swing Amazon, I want to really feel confident, as confident as I possibly can, that that sweeper is placing a confident bet on Amazon. Okay. If I start asking the questions, well, is he rolling? Oh, maybe it's that. Oh, it catches earnings. Oh, it does it. If I start, you know, seeing excuses and I'm trying to ignore those excuses to fit my bias, you can see how that can get you in trouble. Okay. So that's the word clean you guys hear me throw around a lot. Sharp, clean. And that's my definition of it, right? I want it to be obvious to me of what that player is trying to achieve by that order, okay? And during earnings season, it's anything but clean, right? As a matter of fact, people who are new to flow and come into the room, they're like, what is this flow? How do you find an edge off this flow? You know, there's a call buyer in SPY, then there's a put buy in SPY, but they're missing one of the strongest signals to come out of flow, in my opinion. All right. And that's when there's not clean action. That's a strong signal for you to take a step back and chill. Right? Not everything you do in this game is actionable. You got to learn when to put the guns back in the holster, right? And wait for another clean shot at something, if that makes any sense. All right. So the reason I bring that up, the playbook over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, was to chill. Okay. Take a step back, try to take advantage of day momentum if possible, be more selective. Even if you're playing just intraday, be more selective, right? You want to try to pass on more situations than you fire at. All right. And the reason being, because our key signals were slowly deteriorating away from us, and because of the confusion and uncertainty out of the flow and the sweeper activity, we want to do as least as possible and hang around till that better setup, that cleaner setup shows up. Okay. So in simple English, that's our playbook. All right. And the flow usually, from my experience, it's not going to clean up now. This week is a menagerie, right? You got everybody and their mother who's important reporting this week, on top of the Fed this week, on top of a virus, you know, spreading like wildfire. So the flow more than likely is not going to clean up at all this week as a whole, okay? But it may start to clean up as we get through this week into next week. That's where we should see as a whole, okay, improvement in the flow. All right, so it's worth being patient. But in the meantime, and I wanted to talk about this today because, again, if the playbook is not to do much as far as positions and swings are concerned, I don't want to spend too much time talking about stocks for swings and positions, all right, because that's useless. All that's going to do is reel you in to do some damage. I want to give you guys an example, and especially those of you who are of what to look for, okay, as far as a setup is concerned for this type of playbook, okay? In other words, it's easy to say, all right, trade intraday, find momentum. If it's a volatile period, if it's a messy period, it's not that easy to find momentum, right? Those of you, the flow has been abysmal for the past few days now, right? You have no idea whether it's bullish, bearish, crooked, no idea. That's how bad it's been, all right? But what you want to hang around for, what you want to look for is what we saw this morning, all right? And here's how we came into the day, just to get everybody abreast of things. Yesterday, obviously, the market took a nice punch in the jaw, right? And, you know, we find out off our sentiment indicators, short-term sentiment indicators, when they update after the close, they did a little too much damage, right? They put some fear in the tactical short-term trader. They reeled in some bears playing on a short-term basis. Okay, how do we know that? You know, one of our indicators, we call it the trader sentiment, which measures short-term sentiment. It's a bullish signal. Okay, thing that was flashing some bullishness, the bearish leverage, bearish ETF activity, right? We saw a little spike off the day and a follow through another spike yesterday. Okay, so there were things that were telling us, okay, last night were telling us and showing us to come into today and lean bullish for a squeeze. Okay, so we had no idea the market was going to gap up and go, but if the market's down, this is my point, it's even better. Okay, if the market opened up flat to lower this morning, it would have been a better setup for us. Okay, why? Because based off our signals, we are leaning bullish, looking for anyway, right? So better entry and more upside potential or something that hasn't moved yet, even the market as a whole. All right, so that would have been ideal if we came into today, this morning, flat downside, and we could have took our time and looked for some stuff, okay? But we didn't. And as we got closer to the open, the market actually strengthened off some earnings and stuff like that, the economic numbers, blah, blah, blah. And we had obviously an up open and took off from there, okay? Now, the key thing that we want to look for regardless, okay? As long as we're close or we have a bullish sentiment setup, okay? We want to see signs from sweepers that they can help create up bullish momentum, upward pressure, okay? So meaning we don't want to come in and see them tattooing all sorts of names on the put side, right? Because that's going to add downward pressure. We don't want to just run into that and catch falling knives and get run over, right? So we want to see, you know, some signs out there that they're putting some money to work on the long side and can help with that bullish momentum, right? Because sweepers are momentum. You hear me talk about that all the time, right? The first thing you need to understand about sweeper activity, forget the bets, forget whether the bets work out, forget who's placing them. Sweepers equal momentum, period. All right? Put sweepers, you're talking about obviously negative momentum. Call sweepers, positive momentum. All right, so this was the setup coming into today, right? So right here is basically the open, right? This is a 5 minute, so it cuts down a lot of the noise if you All right. And you can see strength right from the get-go, and we took off, right? So what I want to show you, and for those of you who are members, you'll probably get a better understanding from this, okay? Because you've seen the flow the last couple of days. Those of you who aren't members, you're going to have to take my word for it, okay? And trust me on what the flow looked like the last couple of days. Hold on. All right. And if you're members, you know, this is something you need to pay attention to, because no matter what you trade, forget about the names they're buying. You may want to play ES. You may be looking to short, is definitely a point I'm trying to make. Okay. You're a member of this room and you're shorting into a bullish signal out of trader sentiment and call sweeper activity. You need your head examined. What the hell are you doing in here if you're shorting into that? Right? That doesn't make sense. All right. So here's what we look like. Oh, you know what? You'll be able to see the day before, so you can see. Where's the open? All right. Prior to today, the action was hideous. A lot of put buying. Just you couldn't make heads or tails of it. All right. And it was pretty obvious from the open today that there was a bullish lean. Okay. And this is just stuff that hit the board, not stuff I'm posting manually and that sort of thing, but just by the color coordination, right? Puts, calls, it's pretty obvious that there's a bullish tone off the open, right? There's people buying stuff. And that's what, you know, when you have, again, when you have sentiment on your side, which signals to us a squeeze, right? That's where you want to start looking for your entries. Okay. Like I said, ideally, if or down setup, when you start to see bullish flow come into weakness, right? Because you don't have to seeing this one's up too much. I don't know if I should chase, right? Because we worry about that. So when there's a flat or negative and you get this type of setup, there's nothing better. All right. And, you know, this is the point I'm trying to make. So this is what you want to see, all right, for momentum to be on your side and for a decent risk reward on an intraday basis. This is the ingredients you want to see. Okay. This doesn't happen a lot when you're in a correction or whatever the hell we're in. I wouldn't say a correction yet, but you know what I mean? When we're in a correction, it doesn't happen every single day. All right. So that's what you're waiting around for. All right. A lot of us, what we like to do is if we're going to swing anything, right, when the playbook is to stay tactical, we would look for an entry right off the bullish sentiment signal. We see some flow. That's where we would be looking to swing something. And then when we get the squeeze, we want to take it, right? So that's the setup. And that's what I wanted to show you guys today, especially, you know, whoever's trading intraday, looking to be more selective, that sort of thing. Because it's easy to say the playbook, you know, don't do much, right? Or just trade intraday. But I wanted you guys to get a see at what the hell I'm talking about. Does anybody, especially those of you who are members, are you confused or don't understand anything I showed you? I see a lot of you are more interested in Apple. Let's see. Oh my God. Was it up 10? Jesus Christ. What a beast. Would they have good earnings? Oh, what good is that going to do? I don't know. I guess they'll carry the NASDAQ up tomorrow. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But does anybody have any questions on anything I just mentioned here, especially if you're members? Anything you don't understand about that setup, intraday, or whatever the case? Okay, because that's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. right? That's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. So that's your best setup as far as the market environment's concerned, the big picture, right? In this type of playbook. And the best action, if you're looking for the best activity for intraday, you're looking for that aggressive nature behind it. We've gone over that numerous times. The majority of you should know that. But where you see that commitment, when you see them keep coming, in a sense, right? Now we are in earnings season. I don't know about you guys, but something I've been, what I like to do more of during earnings season, if somebody's sweeping calls in a name and it doesn't catch earnings, I'm more eager to play that name because I feel like he may have something up his sleeve or that sort of thing. All right. But if you're day trading, you don't really need to preoccupy yourself with, is it earnings flow or not earnings flow? If you have the proper setup as far as the market's concerned, and you think you can get some decent momentum out of the name or the overall market, that's basically what you're shooting at. All right. So that's what we're shooting for here as a whole until we get through this week and probably a piece at the least of next week, and then see where we stand, right? See where we stand as a whole, see what the flow looks like, see what sentiment looks like, and reevaluate. All right. Because the problem, I'll tell you what I don't, right? And just this Apple already has got me thinking of it. I don't a continuation in this. I definitely don't want to see that. You know, I do not want to see a continuation in these names, and they just pile into these names and sentiment up again because we're asking for headaches. You know, what we need to see come out of this earnings season, we need to see them have just in the other stuff out there. Okay, so we need that rotation to come back into play, or we need a legitimate correction either in these things that are scorching. Otherwise, I think we got headaches. I mean, how many of you are playing earnings? You guys play earnings? I'm sure a lot of you play earnings. See, and that's the thing. I know, Trey, you're working on discipline each and every day. But I know here's the problem I run into, Trey. I know, like, I talk playbook and I try to highlight, some of the best setups and situations out there so people can avoid losing money, right? That's what you're trying to do. Avoid losing money. Rely on constantly making money. That's when you're heading down the wrong path in this game, right? You don't want to lose money if it can be avoided. And, I talk about playbook, flow out there and all that stuff, but I have to acknowledge that it's going to fall on a lot of deaf ears because people are degenerates. No, people want to play, man. They want to play. They don't want to hear me talk about, wait for setting up and then sweepers, blah, blah, blah. When Apple's coming out with earnings. Yeah. So, Norse, that's why I always say, when you start playing this game, you have to ask yourself the tough questions. Okay. If you want to have fun, enjoy yourself, but at the same time, try to make money. You don't want to get lumped up. You want to have fun and you want to be profitable, right? If that's where you want to be, okay? Let's say you're making money, you got another gig, you make good money, and you want to play this game on the side, you have a passion for it, you want to make money, do it, but you also want to enjoy it. The most important thing for you is money management. That's it, risk management. So in other words, as long as you're not going all in on Apple earnings just because you want the action, right? As long as you manage your bankroll, you'll be okay. You know, you find a little edge, long run, you'll be profitable. Okay. But at the same time, if you're looking for enjoyment, you got to understand there's more losing involved in that, right? Because you're playing more stuff. You're playing stuff that's fun, like Apple earnings that have failure rates. Okay. Then, there's another group of people whose, words are cheap, but who say, this is what I want to do for a living. I want to be disciplined. I want to do this for a living. Like this is going to be my sole income. And I don't think they have any clue of what that entails. You know, that's a whole other universe. There's no fun in that. That's like where you have to be as more disciplined than you could ever possibly imagine. And there's no playing earnings in that equation. There's a lot of sitting on the hands, not a lot of exciting times in that equation. There's a lot of grinding in that equation. Yeah, and that's the thing. You're right, Tree. With social media, right? They talk about the high percentage earnings, wins, and stuff like that, and they get jumped up and reeled in. But that's okay. That's okay if you understand what the hell you're doing, right? I talk about that a lot with myself. I got degenerate blood. I love betting the ponies. I love it. But I know I don't have what it takes to make money consistently betting the ponies. Okay, I still go there trying to make money. I try to make money. I don't want to lose money. But I know if I wanted to play the ponies, like very few that I knew actually do play the ponies for a living, I can't go to Belmont and all 9 races, right? Like I know the professional gamblers who bet the horses for a living would go there and sometimes any races if they couldn't find something they go to the track and not bet a race. All right. And degenerates like me are going there betting the whole entire card for the action. But I'm realistic. I know I'm going to make a donation every time I go. It's a given. I don't beat myself up over it, blowing up my bank account over it, right? So that's what I mean. In any form of gambling, whether you think this is gambling or not, any form of gambling, you got to be honest with yourself. What you're trying, what you want to do, are you capable of doing the things in order to do that? And then at least you have some clarity in your life and you know what route to take. If losing bothers you and you're going to roll on earnings plays, right? If losing bothers you and you're only going to trade FANG names and you're going to find something to play every day, think logically. Think logically. So you can understand, Tree, the reason I'm talking about that's where I get into a pickle sometimes. I get into a pickle. Like I want to highlight the best risk reward scenario out there, right? And to work around that. But, deep down inside, I know that there's very few who they may be interested in it, but they're not going to follow the playbook because it's not as much action. Yes. And like swing, you just by your own 2 eyeballs, right? You've noticed that earnings, obviously, right? I'm sure you lost money or whatever it may be, saw people lost money. You know that earnings you can't be consistent playing earnings, right? You knew it. You also, with your own 2 eyeballs, saw that post earnings, right? Especially off weakness, all of a sudden that looked like a lot better setup to you, right? So, it's that, guys. The ability, and I'm not just gassing you up, swing, because I'm talking to you, but the ability to notice that and stick to that, right? Just to notice that the risk reward earnings flow is 100 times better than going into earnings. The ability to see that, understand it, and acknowledge it, put it into action, that's what it's all about. That's the problem, John. Everybody thinks like there may be somebody who has inside information for earnings, okay? But let me tell you, if somebody has inside information for earnings, okay, they're not going to go pile up a bunch of weeklies and buy them all throughout the day so every schmuck on Twitter could see it, okay? They're going to sneak in a couple sweeps that the retail player never even knew he was getting low, all right? That's an if, all right? But now, if you gave me inside information for earnings, I wouldn't even know what to do with it, okay? How do I know what the guidance is going to look like? How do I know how the street's going to react to those earnings, right? I don't know what the hell's going to go on. I don't have a clue what's going to go on. You tell me, hey, Jesus, Apple's going to beat estimates today. Is it going to make money in Apple stock? It means nothing. Yeah. So that's earnings became a total crapshoot. And here's what bothers me the most, okay? What turned me off about earnings, and I don't know how you guys deal with it. I played earnings just for shits and giggles once. We really liked the name, and we thought it would knock the cover off the ball. Nothing big. And this is my first time really playing options and earnings. And the stock was up. The earnings were great. Okay, but my option hardly went anywhere because they were all junked up, right? The implied vol, the implied move, and everything. I was right, and then I ended up still losing money. So my earnings, my guess on earnings were right. Everything that I had control over was right, but because IV was so junked up and everything else, the juice that goes into it, I lost money anyway, net when it was all said and done. It's not about finding a name that's going to go up or down. It's got to go up a certain amount, profit off that during earnings season. I guarantee you 90% of Robinhood traders don't even know that that's the case. Don't even know. All right. So anyway, we know, okay, that's the playbook now, is to stay tactical, all right, and try to do it off pulls, okay? Meaning off pulls, you get, let's say, all right, we're up tomorrow, and then, we get another sell-off late in the week, right? Where sentiment comes in our corner again. You see a sweep or something you like in a name. That's where your entries want to be right now for where we're at. All right, and then we'll see, as I said, going into next week, where things stand. And like I said, there's so many things I'm thinking of right now. There's a good situation, a bad situation that could come out of this. There's so many scenarios that I got smoke coming out of my ears. Like, I can't even think that far. So what I recommend, the same exact thing, take a day-by-day approach, okay? You see a name, I'll give you an example. You see like Freeport today, okay? Let's say you were looking to get in this name, but you never got in it, right? Post earnings, you start to see flow come into the name. It's something you wanted to own. You start nibbling at that stuff. You know what I mean? That's the stuff you little by little want to start focusing on post earnings stuff. I just like it better when we get deeper into earnings, so I don't have to worry about any other peer announcing or anything like that. That's my concern early on in the earnings process. So in other words, let me try to give you an example. Let's say a semiconductor announced and it got hit, okay, and there's some buying that's coming in. All right. Now you feel you're buying it off a pull, and you got some little post earnings action. So you're looking, you put on a long. You still got a whole sector of semis that are going to announce their earnings. If they shit the bed, excuse my French, or warn or anything like that, the likelihood is it's going to weigh on your name just as well, whether it's down already or not, if it's that bad. So you want to take baby steps, in my opinion, early on in the process. Give it time. It's about time. It's more time than anything else. You want to take your time. You don't want to be concerned about Apple running away to new highs, taking the whole market with you, because that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. You understand? If Apple and Facebook and them come out with good earnings and the market goes to new highs and runs away, that's not bullish. Big picture wise, that's not bullish. Why is it not bullish? Because these names need to rest, right? They're sweepers deep. There's no edge off the flow in this stuff. No edge. Right? You're going to be bubble forming if this continues to go higher without a legitimate rest. Yeah, and that's what you're worried about. You're worried about, that breather coming sooner than later. Sooner than later, there's going to be a pretty lengthy breather. The longer this goes without some sort of consolidation, the odds that go with it that there's either going to be some sort of large drawdown or some consolidation. We want these things to breathe now. We want these things to take it easy, relax, and we want to come out of earnings season and see some other things perform, right? We talk about that all the time. What's made this rally so healthy? Everybody was participating. Everybody. They don't have to participate at all times. Okay? They can rotate from group to group to group, right? There could be certain sectors that lag, but it can't be just Apple, AMD, and Shop. It can't be, it can't be. All right. And as these things go higher, what happens, like even as they go higher, it looks easy, but you're going to see it gets tougher here because there's a lot more sellers involved and you get that choppy grind higher. Forget this move. That move's done. It's over with. That's what I don't like about charts. You're always looking back here and thinking that could happen again, and then mislead you. The upside gets tougher now in these things. It gets tougher. Well, we want to look at coming out of this earnings season. There's a million things, but like some of you were mentioning in this report, something like this, right? Something like this. It doesn't have to be this sector. Exactly what we were talking about at the start of the rally with the rotation. Apple is fading now. Well, you got a conference call there too. Did that start up? You got a long way to go here. What is it up? 4? Still green, which is incredible that this thing is green off that rally and earnings. Anybody have any questions or, like Cat, but here's the problem, Alex. I agree with you. Like all those names, Alex, I don't think this market, the rally, the bull market can last without these names participating. These names have to participate. You understand? Otherwise, when that rally in tech and all that hot stuff, when the market high, we're going to get a harsh correction. There's no doubt about it. So you need that rotation. And Caterpillar looks fine. It's not like it looks bad. You just, you want to get earnings out of the way, and then we want to see some flow come into these things. But I agree with you 100%. All these things, guys, all these things we were looking at, look at URI. That looks amazing to me, no? Doesn't this look healthy to you guys? So we'll see, we'll see what earnings look like. Especially like you get earnings, you get a little weakness, and then you got a call sweeper into that weakness. That's what swing is talking about. That's your entry, right? So a lot of us, either traded it too quick or missed this run here. So you get another opportunity. Now, if earnings are a disaster, like a complete disaster, right? And you get a huge gap down or something, they warn, and there's no buying that comes in. That's what Alex and I are talking about. If they're not going to buy that, then when the momentum dries up on those hot names, the market's going to get hit. You saw what happened when the Fed was tightening, what happened to the market when they didn't rotate, right? Once those big tech names and FANG, they stopped rallying, the market went into a tailspin. You need, from, even if it's not these names here that we're looking at, fine, healthcare, biotech, something else there's got to be interesting. Anybody looking at biotech? See, the problem with biotech is they were just as hot, right? Like, look at Bristol Myers and all. So they were just as hot. The banks have been cooling off nicely. I think we're in good shape. We just got to be patient. I think we're in. See, we could all be zombies off the virus in 2 weeks for all we. They'll take it day by day and relax here. What else? Give me some names before we wrap it up. Anybody eyeing or see any there, hoping some weakness off earnings or anything they're eyeing, or what have you guys been? Share with me. I want to know what the hell you guys are doing. Nucor. Oh, the steel name. What's that been up to? They reported? Yeah, they reported. Interesting. Right down here again, huh? Yeah, this could catch flow too, so we'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, MW. I should probably go over that. Anybody who's interested in some spec activity, right? You want something short dated. You want to stay tactical. You had FXI today. They were buying those cheap weeklies. What was it again? The weekly 41 and 42 calls, something to that effect. So you had action. This is probably because it's not earnings related per se, was the best spec action out there this afternoon. So you have the Fed tomorrow. You got a lot of balls in the air, right? You have the virus, but if you wanted to roll the dice deep, weeklies, they were buying FXI weeklies. You could even look to day trade it. That's what I'm looking to do. So in other words, tomorrow this thing is down and we see them come right back like they do a lot of times. I'm going to look to take it for a ride intraday, even though these things don't move as much. But it's good and bad, it's good and bad. They don't get hit as much either. Well, swing is waiting for these things. All these things got hit because of this virus. Wait, LVS win the casinos. You have earnings there. I'll tell you one thing. This name, they've been buying the daylights out of pre-earnings. You can't trust that. But if they come back post-earnings and this, is still in these neck of the woods, you got an entry here in LVS. You guys know How many dips have they bought in this LVS and cash tickets? Yes, MLCO too. I'm not as big as a fan of MLCO as I am. It goes here, my rating. LVS, I like the best playing. Win is probably the biggest mover of the bunch. And MLCO is probably last on the list. I'm talking about quality flow wise. LVS, they have a good track record in, especially when they buy weakness, especially when they buy pulls like this. So without a doubt, swing post earnings. RRR, that's a casino. I haven't looked at that. Vegas, right? Look at this. Because this doesn't have China exposure, MW, right? This doesn't have any China exposure. And it's a casino. RRR. Yep. Definitely decent look. Cron probably caught the best looking sweep of the day. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. That's the good part of it. The big, it does catch earnings, which are in March. All right. So you have a good amount of time until they report. I think it's towards the end of March. All right. But technically, it's an earnings bet. It came in earnings season and catches an earnings date. All right. Because I don't know, when do these guys report? CGC and them. CGC reports before that. Yeah. So somebody very easily could say, I like this CGC, but the calls are really junked up now because they're reporting. Cron is not as junked up. Let's buy some Cron. It is. I'll take the whole sector up with it. So that's the problem with earnings season. All right. But like I said, as far as good looking, it caught the top sweep of the day, but it's technically earnings flow. If you guys are looking for stuff that didn't catch earnings, even that you can't trust 100% because of what I just mentioned. Could be a play on somebody else. But Sony, I day traded this today. Caught some weekly activity. I don't know why. Why would they be playing Sony weeklies? Is there somebody else that's reporting that would have an effect on Sony? By the way, those of you who have been members, can you believe this Sony? MW, do you believe this Sony? Remember we were looking at this thing into the lows off that good looking sweep? I can't believe this thing. I like this stock, Sony. They do well in Sony. No, this is SNE, Sony. SNE. Yeah, SNE, they've done well off sweeper. Oh, new PlayStation, you guys are saying. Yeah, but wait, that's this week, Joe and Bill? That's getting released this week? Maybe Microsoft is involved, Microsoft numbers? I don't know. It could be something like that. So this thing moves slow today. You guys, especially you option guys, for a day trade, it wouldn't have done much good for you. It took me the whole day to make a little bit of money on this thing. But they usually do well. See? I had a nice little morning, went sideways, and then closed a little strong. Another name that, yes, Square, some of the action caught earnings, some of it didn't. Square has had nice flow. Several of you played it. I don't know if you're still in it, but you guys had nice trades out of it. Their earnings at the end of February, Square caught one really nice size sweep. That was for March, which catches earnings. That was the initial activity. Where was that? Back here somewhere, right? Yes, exactly. 800 grand. That's the one I'm talking about. March 70s. March 70s. Yep. A nice move. She had some nice movement intraday today off the smaller short dated sweeps. This one is got a reputation for catching earnings flow all the time. Okay, PSTG. It is extremely slow. Slow is I can't as an understatement. Okay. I day trade it sometimes. I never learn my lesson. It goes nowhere every time I day trade it. Okay. But it caught some action today that didn't catch earnings. You know, I don't know who's reporting in the group, but it's very possible it could be a play on that. That there wasn't really, there wasn't really anything too juicy. That's not. Here's one that you guys have played that hasn't been earnings related. Netflix had some nice movement. This has probably been the best everything. Now it's the only high beta Fed reported already and catching flow, so it could be that. But Netflix has been catching some big time action. Maybe move nice on sweepers historically and get an extra. I don't know what? You lost me, Ani. I can't understand what the hell you wrote there. But yeah, this Netflix, keep an eye on it off dips now at this point. So in other words, you get some selling and you see sweepers come in, especially multiple sweepers come in. That would be a spot for a quick trade. Because I've been doing this a long time, Ani, and I know what names have treated me well, what names never move for me, which names I curse out. Like I'll tell you one off the top of my head that I can never get a move out of this fade, no matter what. No matter what. They can tattoo it. If I get in it for a day trade, it'll stop like a clock right there, and it doesn't even go lower. It just sits there the whole day. To the point where I want to get stopped out sometimes. Go lower so I can stop myself out. It won't even do that. So like, this name I'm not going to touch day trading. But yeah, you make that point, that's from experience. I know what names move well off sweepers, what don't, especially the ones that have been around a while. Yeah, without a doubt. I'm just as superstitious, Sonny, believe me. There's nobody more superstitious than me in this game. I'm extremely superstitious. Extremely superstitious. Yeah, Target, that's one name I want to actually add to. If I want to see half decent call sweeper activity, not one small call sweep. I don't want to force it, but I know they can hit this target hard when they want it. I know it. There's been the put selling, right? That's what got our attention. But the reason why I don't feel as confident off the put selling, it doesn't really tell me much about the upside. It tells me it should get supported. They should buy dips, right? That's usually what happens. But as far as upside potential, it doesn't, my experience, it doesn't really give you, a lot of times the stocks could just hold their own. And if you're going to buy calls, that doesn't do you any good. So if you're interested in this target, you want to see a decent looking sweep. This thing could catch $1 million sweeps I've seen. But you want to see, a 6-figure sweep or multiple sweeps would be even better. Let them be small, but let them hit it a couple times. So at least you could get some momentum going to the upside. But definitely, I'm interested in it. Gap down off that guidance. They do have earnings still in March, but they kind of pre-warned, right? Is that what they did? They pre-warn. But my best advice, and we'll leave it at this, and I'll let you guys go enjoy. What is it saying? I'm experiencing audio difficulties. Well, we're gonna, yeah, Mr. Go-To webinar. My best advice is to just take it slow for the next at least week or two. Take it slow. Don't rush. Don't feel like you have to dive in, because it's nice and easy. Exactly. Nice and easy. You know, especially, I know a lot of you guys have played, you're proud of yourself, Tree, raising some cash, right? Sitting, waiting for some setups now. You let it come to you. Like right now, take the approach, you want the flow to force into buying, right? You want it to force you into buying. You're not crazy about buying anything. You want the flow and sentiment to force you into buying. That's what you want. In other words, you get sentiment lined up, right? All right, fine. I'll start looking maybe for something to play here. You see a sweeper you like, you fire there, for a trade. But until, we get through some of these earnings, you want to nice and slow and let it come to you. At this point, you can't be concerned here. You don't want to be concerned up here that you're going to miss some runaway rally and not be a part of it. It's that you worry about here, right? You worry about, off pulls. So let this come in a little. Let this dance around, right? That's what I'm saying. If 2 weeks go by and we get something like this, what the hell was that? Hold on. But, something similar to this, right? Like something similar. Okay. At that time, all the sentiment that's a little on the hot side will cool down. Believe me, it will cool down. You see already what's going on, and the setup is going to be much better here. You're going to be through the bulk of earnings season. The flow is going to be a lot cleaner. Sentiment will be a lot cleaner. And then we could start focusing on, what's going to go north with this market. If that's the case, and maybe we're talking about what's going south with this market. Who knows? Right? We have no idea. That's why you want to chill out here. Get more information from the market. You don't want to stick out your neck here, like the riffraff. How about, you want to laugh? I have April's that I'm down on off this thing that I bought, run from late last year. Because I saw there was like some aggressive April activity. I think it came in like November, if I remember correctly. So it came around, right? And I watched something on Bloomberg where a couple of the top hedge funds, Tiger Global, and a couple of those are in love with the name. And then the next day I saw sweeper activity in it. So I was like, how am I not going to buy this thing? So I put on a starter position in April's. I think I added to it, I flipped that, and now I just got a starter position in it. But it'd be interesting to see if they come back and hit this thing hard. But a lot of people are gassed up on this name, Tree, this run. It's like a solar name, right? Supposedly, there's a law in California that they passed that means big things for this name. Right? Yeah. See? I remember it. But yeah, I have a piece of April's, a female CEO. Oh, we should load up then. So yeah, I have April's, and if they hit it again, I'll make sure I get your attention, Tree. If they hit it with some time, maybe you want to take a swing on it if you like it. Been a nice breather. Because this thing had a nice run. The chart doesn't even do it justice. All right, so the moral of the story here, take it nice and easy. Let the flow and sentiment come to us. All right, relax, play a little intraday, keep ourselves entertained. But more importantly, keep our eyes open and pay attention to some of the signals out there because we're going to get some good information over the next 2 weeks. All right, and tomorrow's Fed Day. So we'll see what goes on with that repo stuff and everything else. Oh boy. Could be an interesting day tomorrow. Guys, thanks for coming by tonight. Enjoy the night. Good luck the rest of the week. I'll see the rest of you. Everybody.